This is Earl Amin with the 2024 Side Podcast, where CEOs of companies share their insights. It is 6 questions in 9 minutes because top CEOs know how to listen and be concise. So let's get to it. Question number 1. In just a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name's Steve Brazier. I actually have 2 jobs. I'm the CEO of a tech analyst firm, Canalys, which you can see with the logo behind me, founded 22 years ago in my bedroom and has grown to be a global company with operations in China, Singapore, India, Colombia, and the UK and India, if I didn't mention India. So we're a global company. You see us pretty often in the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, leading press, talking about the technology market, what's going on, trends, market data, etc. I'm very proud of an influential company, but we've also recently launched a new company called Canopy, Canapii, to take advantage of the growth in the virtual event software market. And we're very excited by tremendous growth that we've had this year since the pandemic around Canopy.
Excellent and exciting. Question number 2. What's the best thing about being the CEO? This should be fun.
Well, I've been a CEO now for 22 years, and it's interesting. You definitely notice when you talk to other CEOs, something you recognize that if people haven't been a CEO, they don't quite recognize. Because often people ask me, is it stressful? And I would say, no, it's not stressful, because I started the company when I was 32, but up to then I'd worked in other companies. And you know what, certainly I found really stressful. Really stressful is doing things you don't believe in, you don't want to do, you think will have no impact. Whereas when you run your own company, you really should only be doing things you believe in. If not, you're really crazy and you're not going to succeed. And so I've never found it stressful because, you know, if there's a problem, okay, we have to think about it and listen and find a way to fix it. But that's not stress. Stress is being forced to do things and being in situations which you really don't want to be. So that's my answer. That's the best thing about being a CEO, not having to do things that you don't believe in.
A good answer it is. Question number 3. I hear from other CEOs that leading their team can be a challenge sometime when you're trying to see the road ahead. What are your thoughts?
Well, asking me that in December 2020, I would argue no one can see the road ahead. No one predicted the pandemic, the rush to work at home and the consequences of all our lives. So anyone who claims they can see the future is, just don't take them seriously. What you can try and do is see some trends in the past and maybe hope that they continue into the future. And that's what we've done with Canopy, our new software company. We've been running events at Canalys for many years, and we'd use digital technologies to take advantage of those, arrange meetings, chat messages, personalized agendas, that kind of thing. But suddenly at the beginning of 2020, when everything went virtual, we realized there was a major opportunity to run conferences, sales kickoff meetings, even big parties for companies in any sector, not just in the tech sector, who suddenly needed to get a good platform together to encourage communication and keynotes to be listened to and people to talk to each other. So that's what we've been doing. But with Canopy, I wouldn't say we predicted that it was going to happen in any way like this. We were moving in that direction, but the pandemic changed everything. So I would say the key is to listen to what's going on in the market and to react to changes. Don't be too stuck with what you did in the past. Be prepared to react to changes that you haven't predicted, that hopefully are in line with the kind of strategy you already had. And with the virtual event software, we're on to a big winner. It's a huge demand.
Excellent plug. Question number 4. What piece of insight do you want to share with other CEOs, which you may have already mentioned?
Okay, good question. I would say 2 things. First of all, most CEOs know this already, but if you're thinking of becoming a CEO, the boring stuff really matters. Getting your legal structure correct, getting your finances in good order so that you know how your business did yesterday with a high degree of accuracy is tremendously important. People don't tend to talk about that because it's not glamorous, it's not sexy. People just automatically assume it happens. But I've met so many companies through my career who started up and kind of failed. And if they failed at the first hurdle, they haven't thought through the legal structure. Who's going to own the company? Is the stock option schemes? Is the share participation? Is there going to be investors? How much to give investors? If you don't get the basics of the structure of the company right, you have no chance. And so get the legal structure and the finance structure correct. Beyond that, you just need a strategy. As I said, you need to have a direction. You need to know what you're going for, whether that's to be a tech analyst firm, a virtual events software company, a restaurant, a takeaway restaurant, whatever kind of restaurant you want to be. And then you need to go with that strategy, but you also need to listen. Whenever I'm stuck for inspiration, what's the best thing to do? Speak to a customer about anything, about how they use your services, but also about what's going on in their business and what else they're up to. Listen to people. It's always the best tip.
Very good. Question number 5. What other successful CEOs like yourself would you like to acknowledge and should be on my podcast?
Well, my expertise is in the technology industry, really. And so I would look to the big famous people who've inspired so many of us, the likes of Steve Jobs, who sadly you definitely can't have in your podcast, Elon Musk, who's been so creative recently, and many others. But right now I'd pick one a bit more interesting as a real CEO, Satya Nadella. He took over Microsoft when they were having a really difficult time, made a lot of bad decisions, buying Nokia, for example, the handset business, which they closed down within 2 years of buying it. And frankly, taking over from a man who was rather arrogant and often unpleasant. And he's come along and he's changed the whole DNA of the company, the image of the company, and also introduced tremendous results. So I think if you can get Satya Nadella on your podcast, you'll have a big audience, and we can all learn a lot from particularly how he's changed the culture of the company by listening more, by communicating more, and being a little bit more humble.
You'll be pleased to know that we are in pursuit of just that person.
I'm sure you are.
All right, now the final question, question number 6. How do you celebrate a win?
When you shared your questions with me, I thought that was the hardest question to answer. And let me explain why it's hard for us. We, both in Canopy and Canalys, we're a truly global company. For example, all our software engineering is spread across our team in China, in Singapore, in the Philippines, and soon to be in India as well. So we can't celebrate wins by going to have a party or opening a bottle of champagne or even having a sandwich together. We are remote all the time. In former times, I used to go and visit the team as often as I could, once or twice a year. But right now, of course, you can't even do that. So I'll answer the question differently because it's quite hard to celebrate wins right now. You can say messages, great, we've won this, etc. But I think the key to everything is saying thank you and saying well done. And that means an awful lot to people. So just taking a moment to say thank you and say well done, maybe asking the people involved how the deal was won, what triggered it, what the key issues were. That's the best I can give you, but it's not really celebrate, because in a virtual global company, it's quite hard to celebrate.
Well, good answer, nevertheless.
Thank you.
Now, how can people find you?
They can find us by going to our 2 websites. That's canalys.com as spelt behind you here, or canopy.com, CANAPII.com. If you want to run a virtual event, then please pick our platform. We're pretty sure we have the best technology in the world, including, for example, the ability to translate this speech live into any language you want. We're the only company in the world who can do that, which if you're broadcasting to thousands of people in hundreds of languages is hugely valuable.
This is Earl Amin with the 2024 Site Podcast. For more insights, go to LinkedIn and search for The Gray Owl Company. Steve, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl.